I'm Justin Epstein, author of the top-selling book, Super You, and minister of the Unity Center of New York City. Thanks for joining me for this mindful moment. And we're continuing our exploration of The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. And so we're in chapter 1, and on page 10, I want to share with you a quote here. He's talking about being. He's talking about being the eternal, ever-present one, and it's the innermost, invisible, and indestructible essence, and it's the deepest part of you and me. So then he goes on to say, but don't seek to grasp it with your mind. Don't try to understand it. You can know it only when the mind is still, when you are present, when your attention is fully and intensely in the now. Being can be felt, but it can never be understood mentally. To regain awareness of being and to abide in that state of feeling realization is enlightenment. Well, that reminds me of something that Spirit God said through the psalmist. Be still and know that I am God. We can learn all different concepts about God, about the source, about being. We can have all these definitions, and we can know the history of what God did and in the Old Testament and the New Testament, and all that can be very helpful. But it's not the same thing as knowing. Knowing, experiencing, feeling being. In fact, we can spend our whole life reading metaphysical books and never really know. I mean, I can't imagine that happening, but I'm sure it has. And having a head full of intellectual concepts or speaking affirmations is not knowing. That's intellectual understanding. And that's a preparation. In the Bible, John the Baptist came before Jesus. Remember John the Baptist? He was kind of that crusty old guy who was living on locusts and living in the desert. But he was a very spiritual man, and he had followers. And he told his followers that there would be, and by the way, he baptized Jesus in the river. And he acknowledged that a greater one than he was coming. And who was that greater one? It was Jesus. Now, metaphysically speaking, John the Baptist represents intellectual understanding. And intellectual understanding precedes knowing, which is the Jesus consciousness. Jesus knew his oneness with God. I and the Father are one. He knew his oneness. And he called you and I to know oneness as well. And there are people who go, well, that was Jesus. He was different. He was unique. He was special. Not in essence. Not in essence. He said, that which I do, you can do and greater. So he was greater in realization because he had made the effort, done the work, attained the realization. But in essence, he was no different than you and me. And he said, follow me. So his consciousness, the awareness of God, followed intellectual understanding. And that's where we want to get. We don't want to just hear ideas. We don't want to just read ideas. We want to know. And we can't know it through the intellect. That's what, all we can do through the intellect is know about it. But books, lectures, talks, messages, Facebook posts, all this stuff are pointers. They're pointing to being. They're pointing to the truth. But in order to experience it, we've got to know it. And what did the psalmist say? Be still and know. What did Eckhart Tolle say? He said, don't try to understand it. You can know it only when the mind is still. Now, Tolle talks about you get out of the mind by watching your breathing. When you're watching your breathing, you're out of your mind. And not crazy, but just out of your mind, out of your thinking mind. And this is a good kind of crazy. You want to get out of your mind in a healthy way? Get still. Watch your breathing, and then the mind gets focused, and then you experience being. The other way that he talks about is, well, he talks about different ways to feel the aliveness in your body. I'm sure we're going to get into this as we move along in the Power of Now, feeling the aliveness in your body, or just looking around you and being present to what's here without thinking about it. Have moments of just seeing the objects in your room. Look around. Just look without labeling, without judging, and we can have moments of stillness. And when there's moments of stillness, then there's moments of being. Remember, Jesus said, ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. He didn't say you shall read a book about the truth. You shall memorize your Bible about the truth. You shall read a bunch of self-help books and inspirational books. No, he said, ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. So that's what we're talking about today. Knowing, being still and knowing. So I would encourage you, if you haven't already, take some time to be present, to be still, and to know. That's what really transforms us. The intellectual stuff, reading and all that is wonderful. It helps point us toward the truth, inspires us to know the truth, but ultimately, we've got to be still. Whether we're involved in something and there's a stillness in the midst of it, or taking time to just be still. Thanks for joining me today, and I will see you again next time for another mindful moment. Namaste. Thank you for joining me for a mindful moment. Remember to subscribe to my channel for more mindful moments as they go live. Click above for a list of previous mindful moments to enjoy on your own time, anytime.